Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed.
Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
You're looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 rocket set to lift off at 2:35 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral's Space Force Station in Florida. I'm Kate Tice, Quality Systems Engineering Manager, joining you from the opposite coast at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Today, we're launching SpaceX's Transporter 5 mission. As the name suggests, it's our 5th dedicated smallsat rideshare program launch and also our 22nd launch of 2022. On this flight are 59 spacecraft, including CubeSats, microsats, and orbital transfer vehicles carrying the spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. There will be a total of 39 deployments, which will begin around the T+59 minute mark and last for approximately 15 minutes. We are expecting to lose ground station coverage about halfway through the deployment sequence. Therefore, only some of our deployments will be visible today. However, when we're back in range of ground stations, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets. If you'd like to see a full list of today's deployments, head over to SpaceX.com. Now, we are just under 6 minutes until liftoff. Let's take a moment to learn about the Falcon 9 rocket on your screen. To give you a sense of the scale, the Falcon 9 rocket supporting today's launch stands just 3 meters short of the Taj Mahal in India. It was named after the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars and gets the number 9 after the number of Merlin 1D engines, or M1D engines, at the base of the rocket. What you see on your screen are 4 key parts that make up the rocket: the first and second stages, the black inner stage in between, and then the payload fairing at the very top. The first stage is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, and that's what we refer to as the booster. Those 9 Merlin engines do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground and up into the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. For today's mission, it'll be flying a southern trajectory along Florida's eastern coast, which may make this flight visible from the ground. At about 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and make its way back to Earth and target a landing back on land at Landing Zone 1, or LZ1, which you see there on your screen. For those keeping track, today's mission marks the 8th flight for this particular booster, including the most recent transporter mission back in April. On top of the first stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage. It connects the 2 stages and houses the pneumatic pushers that allow the first and second stage to separate during flight. Then on top of the inner stage is the second stage, which will take the 59 spacecraft to their eventual destination in orbit. After launch, be sure to check out the velocity gauge that you'll see on your screen. See how fast we're going when stage 1 separates, and then how fast we're going when we shut down second stage. You'll notice that the second stage actually contributes more velocity than the first stage. Right now, the spacecraft are enclosed inside the large barrel structure with the there we just heard the call out, and you can see on your screen that the strong back is now retracting ever so slightly. So the spacecraft are enclosed in the barrel structure with the pointed nose that you see there. That's what we call the fairing. Its job is to protect the payload until the vehicle is outside the Earth's atmosphere, at which point the fairing separates to expose them to space. We are 3 minutes and 15 seconds away from liftoff. As of right now, the vehicle remains healthy, and we are currently working no issues. Prop load is underway. We're going to hear the call out.
Stage 1 lock load complete.
There it is. So first stage is now loaded with its liquid oxygen, or as we call it, LOX. Second stage is still undergoing its LOX load. As for the range, they are green and remain ready to support. And the weather, as you can see on your screen, is gorgeous in Florida today. We only have a 10% chance of violation for those weather rules. Now, if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have another opportunity tomorrow at the same time. We're 2.5 minutes before liftoff, and at this point, I'd like to note that there are actually some really cool payloads flying on this mission, including spacecraft designed to help monitor weather, environmental changes, and greenhouse gas emissions, improve communications and GPS mapping, and some that even demonstrate new in-space technologies to further space exploration and travel in the future. It's pretty incredible how even the smallest satellites can make meaningful contributions to the care of planet Earth and our efforts to visit other worlds. We're looking forward to providing a great ride to space for these 59 payloads on board today's mission.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
Okay, so there we heard the call out. Second stage is now fully loaded with its liquid oxygen. At this point in time, Falcon 9 is completely loaded with all of its propellants, RP1 or rocket propellant 1, which is a refined kerosene, and all of its liquid oxygen. So now, right on cue, we'll see some of that leftover liquid oxygen venting now that the stage 1 has been closed out, as we heard that call come. So that's totally normal. That's just the leftover liquid oxygen left in our load lines.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
All right, there we heard the call out. Falcon 9 is in startup, meaning the flight computers now have control of the launch countdown.
Go for launch.
All right, that was our final go for launch coming from our launch director. So now at T-minus 30 seconds. All systems remain go for launch. Let's watch as Falcon 9 takes our 59 spacecraft into orbit.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
The 1D chamber pressure is nominal. Vehicles pitching downrange.
We're now T plus 43 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Power and telemetry nominal.
We're currently throttling down those M1D engines in preparation for max Q, which we're expecting at T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds. For those that might be unfamiliar, max Q is when the vehicle experiences
Vehicle supersonic.
the greatest amount of aerodynamic pressure. Great view of the Space Coast.
Max Q.
All right, there we heard that call out for max Q. Everything remaining nominal with stage 1 trajectory. We have 5 events coming up in quick succession, starting with MECO, or main engine cutoff. We just heard the call for MVAC chill, meaning the second stage is now preparing for its ignition. As I said, we start with MECO, stage separation, and SES1, or second engine start 1, followed by stage 1 flip and boostback burn. As the name suggests, main engine cutoff, beautiful view there from Falcon 9 of those, the plume from the main engines. We're gonna shut those down and shortly thereafter separate the first and second stages. Second stage will continue its journey onto orbit. And the first stage is going to, as I mentioned before, make its return back to landing zone 1.
Nico. Stage separation confirmed. And back ignition.
Pretty amazing view there of our second stage. We can see on the left-hand side of your screen the first stage performing its flip maneuver. The flip, of course, is required in order to reorient the first stage so that it actually flies back toward Florida. You can think of it kind of like a giant U-turn. Everything continues to look nominal with the second stage. Beautiful glow from the MVAC engine there on the right-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 boostback shutdown.
All right, that boostback burn has concluded. That is the first of 3 burns that the first stage will perform today. Coming up next, we will have fairing deployment, expecting that to occur in 10 seconds. We can see deployment of the grid fins there on the first stage on the left-hand side of your screen.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There's our first view of some of our payloads today. We can see that the fairing halves have now separated, fallen away from the vehicle, exposing the 59 spacecraft to the vacuum of space. Today's mission marks the second flight for both of those fairing halves, and we will be attempting to recover them from the water once they fall back to Earth. We're currently in the first of 2 MVAC burns planned for today. The first burn should last until T plus 8 minutes and 30 seconds, so another 4 minutes on that burn. The next milestone will be the first stage booster's entry burn. As I mentioned before, the first stage is performing 3 maneuvers today. This entry burn is designed to slow the booster down before it hits the dense part of the Earth's atmosphere. Without this burn, relying on the atmosphere alone to slow down Falcon 9 would put unnecessary strain on the rocket.
Nominal trajectory.
All right, there we heard a call out that we have nominal trajectory. As I mentioned earlier, Transporter 5 is our 5th dedicated smallsat rideshare program mission and our 22nd mission of 2022. SpaceX is targeting at least 3 dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit per year, and we also offer opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch every couple of weeks. Smallsats can ride to space on SpaceX's Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and Starship in the not-too-distant future. We're about 1 minute away from that entry burn. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, we have deployed the grid fins. Falcon 9 has 4 of those hypersonic grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage, and it's using nothing but those grid fins for steering as it makes its return to Earth. That is at least until we light the center engine for landing. You also might notice some white puffs here and there. Those are cold nitrogen gas bursts, which help with attitude control. To put deceleration into perspective, around 60 seconds away from landing, the first stage is moving about 2,000 miles per hour. Then, in less than a minute, we rapidly reduce the speed in order to prepare for landing. The first stage slows down to about 90 miles per hour when the landing legs
FTS is saved.
slows down to about 90 miles per hour when the landing legs deploy.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
All right, there we heard the call out that the entry burn has begun. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen. Again, this is the second of 2 maneuvers performed by the first stage today
Vehicles now in on trajectory.
for its return to LZ1. As I mentioned before, we are attempting to recover this, and it will be the 8th time for this booster.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And we're also targeting to land at landing zone 1. First stage has just one more burn left, the landing burn, and that begins just before touchdown and provides the booster with a soft descent right before
Stage
landing.
1 FTS is saved.
Once we get through the clouds, you should have a pretty clear view of the Space Coast with LZ1, which is our targeted destination. Falcon 9 has 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber with aluminum
Start of
honeycomb.
terminal guidance.
They are placed
Stage 1 transonic.
They're placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, and they deploy just prior to landing, as we'll see momentarily.
Stage 1 landing burn.
All right, you can see that that landing burn has begun just before Falcon 9 lands. We're expecting the shutdown of the MVAC second stage. Just after landing, one of our 59 spacecraft that will not separate from the vehicle will activate, and you should hear that call out over the nets. Let's listen in for these activities happening in quick sequential order.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
MVAC shutdown.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Outpost Mars Level 1, experiment activation confirmed. Nominal orbital insertion.
All right, as you just heard, we had nominal orbit insertion, so we've got a good orbit following that second engine cutoff. And as you saw on your screen, another successful landing for Falcon 9, bringing our total successful F9 first stage landings to 115. As you could also tell by the cheers behind me, it never gets old here. We also heard the activation for one of our payloads that will not be deploying from the spacecraft. With that, we're going to take a short break and come back in about 45 minutes for the relight of our second stage, followed shortly thereafter by the first 26 scheduled deployments. Stick around and we'll see you soon.